Hello, everybody, and welcome to MTGA's Mac Red Football Preview Show for 2015. I'm Jason Burnt, and joined in studio by my broadcast partner, Brad Fetters. In this program, we're going to give you a sneak peek at all 6 teams that play in the top league out of the MAC. We'll look at the schedules, maybe even have some predictions for you along the way. So let's get right to it, Brad. Last season, Dakota wins the MAC Red with a 4-1 mark. They seemingly have been the class of the MAC Red, what seems to be for more than a decade now.
Well, 3 straight MAC Red titles with the win last year. Their lone loss of the MAC Red schedule was to Sterling Heights Stevenson, a 19-12 loss. Stevenson really shut them down defensively. The 12 points were the fewest amount of points Dakota scored all of last season. From top to bottom, the MAC Red, it's always loaded. Last year was no exception to that, but I'm looking forward to this season.
Yeah, you're going to hear almost every coach say that in this program, but let's get right to it. We'll start with Dakota, the defending champs from a year ago. Once again, they figure to be at the top of the league. Coach Mike Giannone has the group prime challenge for another league title. However, they can't help but look back on what might have been last season.
You talk about that, you reflect a little bit on one of the parts was our kicking game, and we had trouble finishing. It kind of caught up to us. It was towards the last 2-3 games, so it did catch up to us. And I think we had to get back to some fundamentals and start really getting back into some competition for positions. Maybe a little bit of entitlement. It could have been all of us, and right now we don't feel any of that. So we're hungry.
It's always in the back of our minds. We lost first time in 10 years, and it was a playoff loss too. It stopped a lot of seniors from doing something they wanted to do. So something that's going to push us above and beyond.
I look back at that game, and put your head down. But it's this season. You got to move on from it. I think we're gonna have a great year. We're gonna go in to Clarkston, show them who we are, and we're gonna go into the chip confident and ready to go.
We've got a talent, but I look at some of the other schools. They got a lot of talent too. Our competition is, I guess, it's comparable to our talent level. So we have good talent. We've got a lot of good kids, and one of the things that we've been kind of proud of is that the kids that have been the core group, they stayed together, and the chemistry's good.
Strengths, they'd definitely be working as a group. We don't have necessarily all-state players, but we have an all-state team, I think.
Right now we have pretty good team chemistry, I would say. We're always around each other, off the field, on the field. We're a close team. We have a bond like no other team.
Other than talent, I think Dakota, we usually bring in a good amount of talent every year. This team has been together since, Little League, youth ball. So we know each other well, got a lot of chemistry and stuff like that. So I think that's what's different.
Well, number one's chemistry. Number 2 is our team speed. It's probably up from last year. We've got our linebackers can run better than they could. We've got some people in the secondary that are pretty fast. We may not be as big as we have been, but we're a lot quicker than we have. Well, I think the red division is it's a very sound quality division. I think it's probably the most fun you can have in high school football. Why would you want to break? You only get 9 opportunities, and we get an opportunity to play the number 1 team in the state with 27 victories in a row at home, the district champion and your district rival, the second game, and then you get to go over and play on grass at Warren Mott, where I used to coach and Coach Morris used to play. We look forward to that. And they do a great job there. Then we come back for a parents' night here against L'Anse Creuse, and we travel to Eisenhower and bring Romeo back in for our homecoming, and then we go down the street to play LCN, and we got Stevenson that comes back that beat us last year. And we end up with Grosse Pointe South that has a great football team this year, and we go over there. So it's a great schedule, and if you want to play football, this is definitely the place to play. You're going to see a lot of good football teams, a lot of good players come into our stadium. We're just hoping they're on our sideline.
Well, seemingly so. Dakota has a lot of athletes on that team, and more often than not, they're on that sideline. But, if you look at Dakota's schedule, they start off pretty tough, Brad. The first game we'll have right here on MTGA, the game against Clarkston. you open up knowing you heard them. They're ready for Clarkston, the 27 straight victories in a row. They're looking at that game, obviously. And then, you can't overlook them. Chippewa Valley in week 2. Warren Mott on September 11th. Those first 3 games are going to be tough. And then Creuse, Eisenhower. You heard Coach Giannone kind of rip through the schedule. But you can see it on your screen there. And Romeo on October 2nd, then followed by Creuse North and Stevenson, 2 more league games. And they close it out on October 23rd against Grosse Pointe South. But, Dakota as a whole, they're going to be a solid team. They always are. But, what do you think would make them stand out from last year's team?
Well, offensively, you start with Kaiser Carlton, the junior running back for them this season. Had a breakout season as a sophomore, 1,600 all-purpose yards, 19 touchdowns. He's a little bit of a do-everything back for them. The quarterback play, Tony Patrico, he's going to be a senior this season at quarterback. Got the majority of the starts last season at JV. Ends up tossing 15 touchdown passes at the JV level. So offensively, they're going to pick up where they left off last season. In terms of their schedule, opening up with Clarkston, that's going to be a big game. The defending back-to-back state title holders. What a way to start the season. And then they transition over to Chippewa Valley. Chippewa Valley picking up that first win against Dakota in 16 tries. Those 2 games back-to-back, it's going to be one heck of a beginning for Dakota.
Dakota has a tough schedule. That opener against Clarkston, they're eyeballing that, as you heard in the piece. How tough is it to prepare in the offseason knowing that that's the team you're going to start off with at the beginning of the year?
Well, it was a 3-point loss last season to Clarkston in week 1, so there's a little bit of film that they can look back at in terms of the Clarkston game. An opener against the 2-time defending state title holder, those 20-plus straight games that Clarkston has won is a tough way to open things up. But then you look to the following week against Chippewa Valley, a team that finally gets off the schneid and beats Dakota in 16 tries in that playoff game. Those are tough back-to-back games to open up the season.
It may be a little motivation for Dakota heading into the season, maybe something they haven't had in recent years because of their success that they've had, like I said, for maybe seemingly a decade. But as part of this program, we have the opportunity to cover 2 brand new teams that we haven't covered before, both in Warren Mott, who we'll see later in the program, and also Brad Stevenson. You got a chance to visit them.
Yeah, we went out to their practice, and Sterling Heights Stevenson will look back at last season with disappointment as they finished 1 game behind Dakota in the MAC Red. Stevenson's 2 league losses to Ike and Mott were a combined 10 points. The Titans will look to erase that heartbreak and challenge for a league title.
Go, 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 go! I think we're ready to start. We've had a really good summer, great participation from our kids. I think it all starts there. The dedication that they've shown all summer long. I think it's going to really help us and hopefully get a few wins for us this year.
Go. Hit.
I think coming into this season we have I want to say maybe 8 or 9 guys that have started at least 1 game for us on defense. All returning. Starts with Jared Cutlip. He led us in tackles last year. He's a great leader on the defense. And his dad, our defensive coordinator, does a tremendous job preparing our kids each week. We had a very young defensive line last year, returning some strong guys up front, very athletic big men. So Des Lance, Jordan Lewis, Andrew Laurie are 3. And I think we have a strong linebacking core that's looking to prove themselves this year. I think our quarterback, Frank DeCenzo, was one of the better running backs actually in our conference last year. We get him back. We've worked really hard at improving our passing game. We have a lot of receivers, I think, that are looking to step up and really make a name for themselves. We have running back by committee, I think, a little bit this year because we have several guys that are going to play defense. Like I said, Jared Cutlip will get some carries. Andrew Detmers will get some carries for us. On the offensive line, much stronger, much improved from last year.
Our goals is just to improve on last year and to win 1 game at a time. We obviously have the aspirations to win every game we can and win a championship, but it's 1 game at a time, and we just want to get better each week.
We got a lot more size this year and a lot more potential, where last year we had a couple solid guys, but this year we got depth, so it's looking really well.
I think we had 5 teams that made the playoffs last year, and it wouldn't surprise me if we see that again. We have the talent in the league, the coaching is here, And for us, it's just to come out each week and not have that letdown. And I'm sure the other coaches will preach the same thing to their kids. You need to be prepared each week. You can't pat yourself on the back. You might have a great week 2 or week 3, but come week 4, there's somebody there that's going to beat you. So you have to be ready each and every week.
Every team in the MAC Red, we look at the same. No one's better than the other, but we go week by week and we make sure we have our game plan set up, defense and offense, and we make sure we don't take any team lightly, no matter what.
The tradition is here. When you win, there are a lot of people. You have a lot of support, and that was definitely something that I noticed last year. Really, I think looking at the league, though, we need to just be prepared and do our best. And the thing that I take away from is getting to know and learn the league. I didn't really know a lot of what defenses we're going to do. You're going week by week. Now you've had an off season to digest everything and kind of get tendencies from coaches and just see how programs are run. So with that, I think that'll be a big benefit and a big plus for us this year.
Coach Frederick now in his second season at the helm of Sterling Heights Stevenson. He has tape now on all those MAC Red opponents. You maybe see a little bit of an adjustment now in season 2.
Yeah, it's going to make it a heck of a lot easier for him. Not playing these teams before. You're going up against a tough Dakota or an Eisenhower team. Those teams can run all over you if you're not prepared for what they're going to bring you. Now he's got a little bit of tape on all these teams. He's had the experience through one season. Should make things a lot easier for him.
And he admitted to us that he got that late start last season, kind of got hired in a little bit late and kind of rushed through things, but now solid footing, and he's one heck of a coach.
Yeah, no, and they had a great season last year. Like you said, they just came up short in a MAC Red title. They obviously like to challenge once again for that league title. They all do, but they have a legitimate chance. The talent's there, I think, at Stevenson, and I think that they could even make a long postseason run if everything works out the way they want.
And taking a look at their schedule, they open up things on the road, a non-league game against Troy, and then they segue right into MAC Red play, a game against Eisenhower on the road before finally coming home to Chippewa Valley.
Yeah, but the big thing I take out of their schedule is they follow that up then with Fraser and Creuse North, and then the second part of their schedule here is Utica Ford, Mott, Dakota, Utica. The big thing I take out of this schedule, Brad, is when you look at their non-conference games, at least on paper, it's the old cliche, but at least on paper it looks like they would be the favorite team in those 4 games. Well, if you go 4-0 in your non-conference games, you realistically only have to win 2 league games to get to that 6-win playoff mark. So that's the way they got to be looking at this thing, going, okay, if we win those games, hey, flip a coin in those MAC Red games and let's just see what happens. But you got to win at least 2 of them and go 4-0 in your non-league games to get to that 6-win total.
Yeah, Sterling Heights Stevenson 7-3 last season, getting to 7 wins. That was a major improvement there. For Sterling Heights Stevenson, they're only going to be better this year. Yeah,
I think they'll be improved, and I think you'll hear a lot of the coaches, the rest of this program, they all talk about Stevenson as being one of those teams that maybe is going to be much improved this year and is going to be one of the top teams in the Red. But, as we move on, another team that we're looking at being at the top of the MAC Red is going to be the Chippewa Valley Big Reds. They made the postseason the last 3 years, got a big win last season by knocking off rival Dakota in the district final. Looking to build on that success, it has the team excited heading into the season.
Our kids did a great job last year. We started off a little slow and had a bunch of injuries and had to move some players around. And by the end of the year, we were playing really good football, and then made a nice run in the playoffs, and gave us, I think, a lot of momentum coming into the off season. And then when you return 40-some kids off of that team, obviously you feel pretty good about that going into the season. So, each year our goal is to try to get better and go further in the playoffs, and that's kind of what's happened. So to do that and then have a good group coming back, that's definitely a positive thing.
We have high expectations of this year. We got a lot of experience coming back. We got a lot of seniors coming back, and we're just excited to get back on the field with each other.
Go, Henry. There you go. I think from a mental standpoint, from a confidence standpoint, to go up to Dakota and beat them, and then go toe-to-toe with Cass Tech until into the last 2 minutes of the game. I think our kids now understand that if we play our best and we're consistent and we do what we need to do, we can play with anybody in the state. So I think it changed our mindset a little bit.
I feel like we have a strong returning senior class, and we got a bright side on defense this year. So we should be better in defense. It's really what we lacked last year, so we're looking forward to having a good defense this year.
Our goal every year is, you want to win the MAC Red, which I don't think Chippewa's done since '04, and you want to make the playoffs and you want to make a run in the playoffs. So our goal is to win the MAC Red, and until somebody beats Dakota, they're the favorite. I think they've won it 3 years in a row now. So yeah, we want to try to win the MAC Red, obviously, make the playoffs, and we made it to the Final 8 last year, and this year, our goal is to go further than that. I have pretty high expectations of myself and our team, always. So, offensively, with a quarterback like Patrick Brenningstool coming back, who set a bunch of school records last year, and Stefan at receiver, Jimmy Sarnik's an outstanding receiver, he's back, and John Anderson and Trevor Vergowan up front for us. I told our kids if we don't win the MAC Red, I'm going to be disappointed, because to have that type of talent and experience coming back off of a good team, I think that's a legitimate goal for us.
Of course we can compete for a Red Championship. We were there last year. We came up short a couple times, and that we just got to fix that. Big games showing up, but I think we got the guys this year to be able to do it. Come in clutch and get that championship.
The Red's going to be tough. I think Stevenson's going to be really good. I think Warren Mott's going to be improved, and Tom and his staff do a great job. And I think Creuse North will be better too. And Eisenhower's always good. So last year I think you saw a lot of parity. Stevenson upset Dakota at the end of the year, and then you had 5 teams going into the playoffs. I think the league is going to be really balanced, but again, the road goes through Dakota since they're the 3-time defending champs, and I think you'll see a lot of close football games.
All right, Brad, when you take a look at Chippewa Valley on paper, they're definitely going to be one of the top teams in the Red. The talent's there. You heard it in the piece. They got 40-plus players that are returning from last year. A lot of people picking them as maybe one of the favorites.
Well, when I think of Chippewa Valley, I think of a high-powered offense. They were one of 2 teams last season to score over 400 points in all of Macomb County, the other one being Marine City. So this is a high-powered offense, and they get a lot of those starters back on the offensive side of the ball. They got Brenningstool coming back as their quarterback. He's going to be a senior, and he's got a big target out there in Stefan Claiborne, who's a kind of a do-everything player, all-county player. Really a lot of weapons in the Chippewa Valley Big Red offense. Yeah, absolutely. And you actually heard them, a couple of the players mention that it's the big games. They show up to those big games. They should do pretty well. Let's take a look at their schedule. They have a pretty tough opener just like Dakota. In that opener against Lake Orion, it'll be on the road. They beat them last year, so obviously Lake Orion's going to be looking for a little bit of revenge. Then you got the rivalry game, as we mentioned, on the 3rd of September. Dakota, and then Stevenson. The first 3 games all on the road. That's a tough stretch right there. Yeah, and you come back with a couple games against Warren schools in Cousino and Warren Mott. They go on the road to face another non-league opponent in Utica, and then finishing off MAC Red play with Eisenhower and Creuse North before finishing up the season on the road once again against Anchor Bay. Yeah, when you look at their schedule, again, you look at some of their crossover games against Utica and Anchor Bay. At least on paper, those are winnable games for Chippewa Valley. They're going to compete in all those games in the Red. But when you look at it, they got to get through that tough stretch in the opener. I mean, I don't care how good you are. When you're looking at your schedule and you see Lake Orion, Dakota, Stevenson as your first 3, it's going to be tough. Yeah, and you mentioned they're on the road and kind of getting that monkey off the back against Dakota with that big win in the playoffs, the blocked extra point. Chippewa Valley finally gets over that hurdle. They can do anything they want right now with the big win against Dakota. Yeah, and I think if they can get over that hurdle and, even at worst, if they finish 1-2 in those 3 games, they still can finish strong with a lot of games, like you said, against teams like Warren Cousino and Mott.
that we'll see later in the program. But you know, they're going to have a tough beginning of the schedule, but they should be okay. And one thing I do want to mention is they are playing with heavy hearts this year. You know, you did not hear it in the package, but they definitely talked about it off camera, dealing with tragedy, the loss of some of their players, and most recently, even Coach Merchant mentioned, had to attend a funeral only a day or two before practice began. So our thoughts and prayers are with the Chippewa Valley family for sure. But right now, we're going to take a quick break in our program. We're going to come back and cover our final three teams in the MAC Red, which are Warren Mott, Creuse North, and Eisenhower. So don't go away.
The average text takes your eyes off the road for nearly 5 seconds.
Now it's time for This Week in Bad Stats.
Bad stats?
Horrible stats. Here goes. 260.
That's how many runs were walked in with the bases loaded last season.
Wow, very good. Here's a tough one, though. 3 and 4.
No idea.
That's the number of kids who witness bullying. 3 out of 4.
Not a good stat.
No, it's not, but that can change. Kids want to help, but they don't know how. You can visit stopbullying.gov and give them the tools they need to help prevent bullying.
There are plenty of safe ways kids can help at stopbullying.gov.
Just a reminder, kids who participate in high school activities tend to go a little farther than those who don't. Take part. Get set for life.
Welcome back to the 2015 MAC Red Football Preview Show. I'm Jason Burnt and joined along with Brad Fetters. And Brad, we've covered 3 teams thus far in our program, Stevenson, Chippewa Valley, and Dakota. And those 3 teams projected to finish at the top of the MAC Red by many people this year. Kind of flip a coin with those 3 teams.
Well, I think last year was a clear indication that any team can beat the other opponent any week of the season. I think no one's unbeatable, that's for sure. In Dakota, getting by the skin of their teeth, really, last season, losing that game to Stevenson, it's a clear indication that from top to bottom, the MAC Red is clearly one of the best conferences in all of the state of Michigan.
Absolutely, and there's 3 more teams that are going to have something to say about it as well. We'll go on to our next team, the Eisenhower Eagles. After missing the playoffs in 2013 following 14 straight appearances, they returned last year falling to Dakota in the district opener. They're looking to build on things and expect a challenge for the league title.
We got a lot of returners on offense. All our skill players are back. The only guy we're missing is our quarterback, so that's always a tough guy to replace no matter what you have returning. 3 of our offensive linemen are back, and that helps. You know, we got a center who's coming back who's a pretty good center. And so offensively, you know, I think we got a lot of guys that, you know, fit our offense and they know what we do on our offense. Now it's our 2nd year in our offense. Defensively, we're replacing 8 guys. We're replacing 4 defensive linemen, and 3 of them were all-county defensive linemen and all-state defensive end. And you just can't replace guys like that. We just hope we can find some guys that can maybe fill the shoes a little bit. And the good thing defensively is we got a couple linebackers back and one of our corners who is a really good corner. But, you know, defense is, you know, you need just guys that can get to the ball, guys that want to get to the ball. And in a school this size, you know, we hope we can find a few guys like that. We got good talent level, but, you know, every school in our league has great talent. So there's a lot more to it. But talent-wise, yeah, we have players, we have speed, we have you know, guys that can run the ball, guys that can catch the ball. You know, our skill's good, but our skill's still not as good as some of the teams we're going to play. And so we got to be able to play as a team. We got to be able to play a full game
and you got to have a little luck in this league to make it through with injuries and things like that.
I feel like we can be successful this year. I feel like we're working hard, having great practices, having great scrimmages, and I feel like this team is going to be successful.
I think our strengths are our running backs. We have 6 guys that can all play. In our offense, we use 3 running backs at a time. We got tailback and a couple slot backs, and those are all running backs to us. We got 6 guys that are very good, very skilled, all quick, all can run, all have a lot of game experience. So I think that's right there is really our strength of our team to begin with.
I think we'll be good. I think we have a lot of speed, and our backs are going to be real good.
I think every team in this league is very good. We could be last, we could be first, but any team in this league could say the same thing. I'm excited about the league. There's nothing better than playing in a great league. It's just going to make you better, and we like the challenge. We like the challenge of being in this league and going every week and having to prepare for a great team. And I'm just excited about this. Not only our league, the MAC Red, but this whole county is full of great football, and it's just great for this area. And I grew up in this area, so I'm proud of everything that these coaches and these teams have been doing, and I'm excited about this year and being able to compete at a high level. You hope you see good characteristics out of your kids and they become good people, and that to me is a big reward. This team right here, they could do very well if we feel, we get some spots competing at a high level. But I see this team as one of our better teams in the last couple of years. But that doesn't mean anything. It doesn't mean anything. We could go 0-9 and still be a great team. But you just never know. The team has to come together and be able to play as a team and for each other.
All right, Brad, Eisenhower is another one of those teams, a long-running MAC Red team. They're used to playing the top dogs, and last couple of seasons have been down, but the talent level, I think, is there for Eisenhower this year as well.
Well, this is a team that's really looking and searching for that consistency. They alternated losses and wins through the first 5 games of the schedule last season, really couldn't get anything going until the tail end of last year, where they finished 3-1 in order to make the playoffs. Now they lose 8 players from last year on the defensive side of the ball. They're breaking in a new quarterback in a system that's really only in its 2nd year offensively. So consistency, what can we expect out of this Eisenhower team? There may be a little bit of a question mark in the MAC Red this year.
Yeah, absolutely, and maybe a little bit of a surprise team too, because not a lot of people talking about Eisenhower, but they're a big enrollment school and they can get a lot of players, so you never really know from year to year. Let's take a look at their schedule. You see there the opener against Plymouth at home, and then they got Stevenson, so back-to-back home games to start the year. That could help them. Then they go on the road at Creuse North on the 11th of September, Grosse Pointe North, and then a big one, Dakota at home on September 25th. That should be a big game for them right there. And then you go on to the next portion of the schedule, Grosse Pointe South and Chippewa on the road. Then they close out 2 home games on their schedule against Mott, and then a rival Romeo, which is a crossover now with the MAC White. So when you look at it, it's almost, for Eisenhower, you have to maybe put it in sections. Your first 2 games are at home. Try to worry about those 2 home games. Then you got to find a way in those 2 road games to maybe at least finish 1-1. And then you come back, a big home game against Dakota, and then you finish out with 2 on the road, 2 at home. So you kind of section that off a little bit, it looks to me.
Well, and it's got to be nice, too, to kick Rockford off the schedule. Rockford, a perennial powerhouse
sure.
on the west side of the state. But Plymouth, don't sleep on them. They're constantly in the mix as well. And I talked about the consistency of Eisenhower. There's a reason why this team's made the playoffs 15 out of the last 16 years. They get things done.
Yeah, absolutely. And, the MAC Red grind will be there for them as well. I wouldn't say as easy on paper non-conference schedule, but their crossover games are going to be tough. It's always difficult when you have to face Romeo in that last game of the year. They used to play each other all the time when Romeo was up in the red, and they do have a rivalry there.
Yeah, that Romeo game probably will have some playoff implications as well. Maybe a team looking for that 5th or 6th victory in order to qualify for the playoffs.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, the next team on our list here is a new team as well. Brad, you got a chance to cover Warren Mott.
Yeah, we traveled over to Warren Mott, and the Marauders made their way back to the MAC Red last season after a brief 2-year stint in the MAC White. Mott completed an up-and-down season with a 2-3 record in league play and a 5-5 overall record. This season, they want to prove once again that they belong in the MAC's top league.
Jack, come back! But we're cautiously optimistic, and we have some players, have some talent, some speed on defense, which we always look to try to establish. Number one, and number two, try to get some physicality going up front. We have some optimism right now.
Rip it! Keep coming! Keep coming!
Talk a little bit about last season, 5-4 record in the regular season. Some of the things that maybe went right for you guys in terms of last season, your first in the MAC Red.
Well, we were happy with how the kids battled, how they played, and competed. Obviously, every game they come out like we, would like. But the MAC Red's a highly competitive league, and you got to bring it every week. Otherwise, you'll have some difficulties. So, we're looking forward to the second year, in the alignment of the challenge to see if we can earn our right to stay up in there.
I feel like we were solid, most likely up front, but there were some aspects we can get better at. And we were well coached by our coaches. They did a good job in getting us right as far as playing in the MAC Red, because we know we're going to have competition.
We always talk to players probably just about, like everyone else does, talks about winning your division and going to the playoffs, and then from there you want to try and win a district and move on from there. So nothing ever changes with that, but more importantly, we always talk about focusing on ourselves first, and worried about each drill, each play of each practice, and then going into each game with the same mentality. So we're just continue to do that day by day, as opposed to worry about the scoreboard or the overall schedule.
We definitely have a lot of speed all around, and it's going to help out a lot. We're all battling, and it's pushing each other for all the starters. We're getting good scout looks, and it's making everyone better.
We have a lot of depth, a lot of skilled players. I feel like this year, out of all my 3 years, I feel like this is the best skill set that we have had since I've been here. We work hard, play as a team, as a family.
Jack him! Jack him!
We have several returning players that did a great job for us last year up front, starting with Malachi Taylor. He was a quite good nose guard and did some great things for us, so he's back this year. Kyron Daniels will split time between safety and linebacker, and got a lot of postseason accolades. And Ty Redding is a heck of a corner and a Bowling Green commit. So we're looking forward to seeing those guys, and then see some of the young guys we have coming up, fill around them. I think we have some talent. Offensive side of the ball starts, with Javon Wilson at running back. He's a heck of a running back, and he also plays safety and some outside backer for us on defense. And he's a very physical player. Runs hard, runs angry, and really like that. Chris Campbell is a heck of a player and anchors the offensive line. Malachi will play some over on offensive line. Keyshawn Carter, our offensive lineman, does a nice good job for us. So we have some depth there as well.
As a team unit, where do you see Mott having the most strength?
I think so far I've seen that this team has a lot of unity and has gelled together fairly nicely so far. They seem to like each other. Some teams you have to work more at that. This team seems to have a little bit more of the camaraderie end down in a natural sense, as opposed to having to groove it as a coaching staff. So we're looking forward to that. And I think they're a talented bunch, which is going to be necessary, because we're going to play a heck of a lot of talent when it comes to the MAC Red. We just look to be competitive every week, week in, week out, and look to try to give our best effort. I think most weeks that if we give our optimal best effort, that'll be enough. It's a gauntlet. Every team in the MAC Red's tough. It's not like some other divisions where you might have a down team or two. I mean, I think across the board it's tough, and it's just anybody could win it. And obviously at the top you got Chippewa Valley, Dakota, Ike, Stevenson are the perennial MAC Red teams that are there all the time, and Creuse North is a prolific team as well, and has done some really nice things the last couple of years. So there's really no break any time in the schedule during the year.
Now, Coach Tom Milanoff of Warren Mott has really made huge strides for this program as a whole. He's been the head coach since 2000, but really this team's competing now in the MAC Red, and they beat some big boys.
Yeah, a couple of years ago when they moved up, a lot of people questioned the move and didn't know if Warren Mott, along with LCN, who we'll hear in a little bit, would make that smooth transition to the Red. Warren Mott has done a nice job. They've been very competitive in both their Red games and their crossovers. Last year had a solid season, and just like Stevenson, first year back in the Red and facing these teams, now they know what to expect week in and week out, and you don't know where their talent level is in comparables to some of those big teams that are projected at the top, but they could be one of those sleeper teams for sure.
Yeah, I'll never forget that game on our MTGA airwaves where they beat Dakota. It was kind of a program builder. Last season they forced double overtime with Eisenhower, so this is a team that can compete at the MAC Red and will probably more than likely stay there.
Yeah, and those type of games are confidence builders. I mean, as soon as you beat a team like Dakota in a regular season game, you start to think, well, we can play with anybody. And that can change your whole mindset throughout the year. And Warren Mott is definitely one of those teams. When we look at their schedule, they start off with Cody there, Brad, and then 2 games at home against Creuse North, Dakota. and then 2 more on the road, Lakeview, Chippewa Valley, and it's not an easy schedule for them.
No, but you have to like the fact that you begin MAC Red play at home against Lance Creuse North, one of those teams you're probably competing for in terms of spots in the MAC Red. But Coach Giannone mentioned it in our package that he's really looking forward to going into Warren Mott and playing on that real grass, as he put it. And those two will butt heads in week 2 of the MAC Red schedule.
Yeah, the coaches that used to play there used to obviously Coach Giannone he used to coach there years ago. So it's fun for them. Yeah, the back half of the schedule there. Stevenson, Eisenhower in the middle of October, and then they close out with Ford at home. But the big thing I look at is Warren Mott needs to get off to a good start. When you look at their schedule, they got Detroit Cody. We don't know a whole lot about them. We don't cover Detroit Cody. But if they could get a win in that first game, they come back and they've got Lance Creuse North at home. Well, if you start 2-0 by chance, going into that game against Dakota, that's going to give them supreme confidence going into that game.
Yeah, and that October 2nd game against Port Huron, these are 2 teams that are very familiar with each other. Port Huron's been a little bit of a stumbling block for Warren Mott. They used to compete in the MAC White together, and Port Huron actually cost them a perfect regular season and a MAC White title back in 2012. It's a Port Huron team that beat Mott last season 34-14, nearly costing them a playoff berth.
Yeah, so it should be an outstanding season for Mott, but you never know. You never know if they could be one of those sleeper teams. As we said, oftentimes you see a team that might, they finished 2-3 one year, then the next year they come back and maybe they go 4-1. So you never know, but Mott's definitely going to be in the mix. Well, we go on to our next team in our preview, and our last team, last but not least, the Lance Creuse North Crusaders. They finished 4-5 overall last year, but 1-4 in their first year in the red. Optimism is high for this club as they hope to prove themselves yet again in the league.
Go. We're really excited. We didn't know what we had with this group. This is our 4th year here. This will be our 4th season coming up, and our team has really come together, hit the weight room really hard. And they're really excited to play. We have a really good senior class, good senior leadership, and we're really excited about this season, about how electric we're going to be.
Go! Right there!
This is your 2nd year in the red. Obviously got your feet wet last year. What are your thoughts on playing in that division and the season upcoming?
Well, it's always fun. You always want to play at the highest level when you're a coach, when you're an athlete. And the MAC Red football is probably by far the best football in this state. And that's what I've always said. You want to be up there. You want to play the Dakotas. You want to play the Stevensons, the Chips, the Ikes, and the Motts. That's who you want to compare yourself against. And we done a good job last year. We beat Ike. We played some tough games. This year we're just ready to take that next step.
I feel like we have something special going here. I feel like we're going to be a very good contender in the MAC Red. I feel like we're going to be going against obviously very good teams in the MAC Red. I feel like being an underdog gets us when you do go out there and really compete. They'll surprise a lot of people.
We belong in the red, we feel like, so we're not intimidated by people. We're just going out and play. We want to play in the highest competition we can.
Go! Off that tackle, Joey, right there! Get inside!
We're definitely fast on offense, fast on defense. Obviously, our offense is always our highlight. Everyone likes to see us throw the ball around. We got a good quarterbacks. We got 3 we really like. And going from there, our offensive line is finally big. They finally hit the weight room, so we'll be able to play with those Dakotas and the Chips. They're ginormous people.
We're deep in every position. Every position we have at least 3 guys that can play. We're athletic, and beyond that, we all work hard and study what we need to study. We're all watching film. We're all going over our assignments before, in school, whenever we can. It's just our program is getting up there.
Jake Mychak played a big role last year with 10 touchdowns, and he's going to be another guy that's going to come out there and really play. We got a left tackle and a junior, Don Petrowski. He's a beast, and he played really good last year. Our center, Zach Lanzon, going to give us a little bit on the defensive end this year. And our defensive line is going to be really fast and really strong this year with Michael Biondo and Toby Grauberg.
We all work hard. We never quit. We're gonna give every good team a run for their money.
You have to prepare. We have all great coaches. All the red coaches are great coaches, and they're going to prepare too. And you just got to take each week as a thing. They're so different though. You got us and Mott, who are kind of the athletic, kind of fun. Throw it around, do some crazy stuff. Then you got the Ike and Dakota, who's the big juggernauts, and they just want to pound you. Stevenson's running the ball now, and then you got Chippewa, who has great athletes and some big senior class guys. So you really got to prepare every week, and every week's different. And it's such great matchups because it's just every week is such a different matchup for all of us, not just for us, just everyone is such a unique difference. I think we're a sleeper. That's the great thing about us. No one really, they all pick us last, and we're cool with it. But we're going to sneak up on some teams, and we play teams tough, and you better prepare. And if you take us lately, we'll come up and sneak up and bite you. So we're really excited. And I think some special things are happening.
Well, Brad, Creuse North, they have a good sense of humor about it. They know that a lot of people are not going to pick them coming into the year. They are the underdog, and that's the mindset they're going to have to play with, a little bit of chip on their shoulder.
Yeah, you always got to be aware of those teams that do have that chip on their shoulder because they're hungry and they're looking to prove a point.
Last year, they upset Eisenhower in a game. You heard that. And it's not unlikely that they could do that to any one of the other MAC Red teams.
Well, we talked about Mott and that win over Dakota as kind of a confidence builder and a program victory, and I think that was the case for Creuse North. Anytime you can beat one of those big boys in the MAC Red, this case being Eisenhower, it sets a standard for your program, and that was a game that Eisenhower had a 16-0 lead. Creuse North comes right back, scores 17 straight points, and comes away with that 1-point victory. A program builder, but they need to make those strides a little bit bigger this season and really build off of that win.
Yeah, and you heard Coach Kinner say that they look to build on things and to keep moving forward. Let's look at their schedule. They start off at home against Troy Athens on the 27th, and then on the road at Warren Mott in that second game, and then 2 home games, Eisenhower and Roseville, on the road against Stevenson on the 25th. Next portion of their schedule there is Anchor Bay on the road October 2nd, followed by a big one at home against Dakota. We'll see that game right here on MTGA. And they go on the road at Chippewa Valley, and then home to close out against a district rival, but not a MAC Red rival in Creuse. So when you look at their schedule, Brad, what are some of the things that really stand out as far as these teams?
Well, the very tail end of the schedule, obviously, the games against Dakota, Chippewa Valley, and Creuse. That rivalry with Creuse, it's an important one for both schools. Creuse North having won 3 straight now in that rivalry series. They hold the 25-15 edge now on their rival school, but talk about a tough way to end the season, huh? Dakota, Chippewa Valley, there's going to be, once again, Creuse North going to have to play their way into the playoffs, and more importantly, they're probably going to have to go 4-0 in non-league play.
Yeah, we talked about that earlier when some of the teams look at their non-conference schedule. In these crossovers, you got to do well in those because you know that you're going to suffer a loss or 2 or more in the MAC Red play. Troy Athens to start things off again. We don't know much about Troy Athens, but that's going to be a tough game. Their other crossover games, Roseville. That's going to be a tough game. However, that one is at home. Anchor Bay is a rivalry. We know that Anchor Bay has issues with Creuse North, and they don't like each other. And those players can't wait to play each other year in and year out. And then Creuse, another rivalry game for them. So those are going to be big games, and then you got to try to steal a couple in the MAC Red. And from top to bottom, when we look at the talent level of every other team, not a knock on Creuse North. Every other team is right up there as well. So you basically flip a coin, and if you can't get 2 wins in MAC Red play, you could be in trouble.
Yeah, and Creuse North, we always talk about how up-tempo, high-powered their offense is, but they really got to shore up their defense. They gave up 341 points last season as a defensive unit, which was the 4th most in all of Macomb. So defensively, Creuse North's got to step their game up. Maybe see a little bit of improved defensive line play. I think the line for Creuse North a little bit bigger, a little bit faster this season, and they could be a team that squeaks into the playoffs.
Yeah, could be. But, one thing that Creuse North does have to take a look at is, when the MAC realigns next year, they definitely don't want to be on the outside looking in. If they want to stay in the MAC Red, they're going to have to show that they're competitive, and they're going to have to show that they deserve to be in the MAC Red. So, it should be fun. We're looking forward to it.
Absolutely.
Covering all these teams, Brad, it's been a lot of fun. And, let's just talk real quick. Predictions. What do you think is going to happen this year?
Well, obviously, Dakota's clearly got the target on their backs, but Chippewa Valley, with that senior leadership on the offensive side of the ball, you can't count them out. And then teams like Sterling Heights Stevenson could really be that sleeper. Kevin Frederick now in his 2nd season, he's got the tools in place, that outstanding defense with Dave Cutlip as a defensive coordinator. They're really going to pick up where they left off last season. I think they only gave up 10 points per game last year, and they were 10 points away, don't forget, from co-sharing that MAC Red. And don't forget, they also beat Macomb Dakota last season.
Yeah, they did. And, you know, when I look at it, I can't help but think that maybe Chippewa Valley will ride that momentum into this season. You know, I look at the way that they ended. We talked about it, you know, knocking off Dakota in the playoffs. They hung with Cass Tech inside 2 minutes of that game in the playoffs as well. They know that they can play with everybody. And the fact that they have so many players coming back, I think that's going to really play into it. It's not just players coming back, though. They've got some talent there at the quarterback and at the receivers and some of their skill positions. They're going to be a dangerous threat, and I think that they're going to have a really good season. That would be my choice, I guess, for my MAC Red prediction. But we wish all the teams lots of luck this year. It's been a lot of fun. We thank you for joining us for the MAC Red preview show for this year. Keep in mind, you'll find this program, if you've missed any part of it, and others on the Macomb Township website at www.macomb-mi.gov. You can also see several games right here on MTGA this season, including the opener of Dakota and Clarkston, which should be a good one. We thank schools and coaches for welcoming us out to their practices again this year, and we thank you so much for tuning in. For Brad Fetters, I'm Jason Burnt. Enjoy the upcoming season. We'll see you next time. So long.